When I was young, my family lived in a rural area. We lived a modest life, going to school, playing with the neighborhood kids, family outings, and attending church. Every Sunday we went to church and to Sunday school. I learned about Jesus and some Bible verses and some Bible songs. I was really never comfortable in that church, and at one point became fearful of going to the church. Because my sister and I did not like to go to that church, my sister and I decided we were going to rebel and fight to not to have to go to that church. Well, my mother cut a deal with us and said that if we would go to church on Sunday, that we would be allowed to go skating on Saturday or on Sunday afternoon. So that's exactly what we did. We sucked it up and went to church on Sunday morning so we could go roller skating. That was more important than church. But after a time, we still did not like the church, and I did not feel like it was a home. I became fearful of going. There was just something about this church that scared me, and I knew that that's not a church I wanted to call home. So I decided that when I got to be a teenager, that I had some friends that were Methodists, and so we joined the United Methodist Church. And I really enjoyed that church for a while. And I stayed there probably for 10 years or so, until I became uncomfortable there. It was not home. It was home for a little while, but I never was really in tune with the church and the fact that that's where I wanted to spend the rest of my life, going to that church. So I rebelled and discontinued going to church on Sundays. I just took my life and just kind of went about things. I still believe in God and that God cared for me, but I was under the belief that I didn't have to go to church to believe in God, so I didn't go to church. Well, I was never comfortable. There was still a hollow inside me, an emptiness that I needed to fill. And I knew that the church that I wanted to go to was the Catholic Church. I've known that since I was little. And so I decided that after some years, I decided to go and join the Catholic Church. Joining the Catholic Church was the best thing I could have done for myself. It was, it's undescribable, the feeling that I felt when I did my first communion. It was it was an awesome experience. There are not words that describe that. I bet that emptiness that I felt was filled, and I just felt full of the Spirit. And so that's where I have remained in my church, is to go to the Catholic Church. But along that way, when I went from a Pentecostal church all the way to the Methodist and then to the Catholic Church, there were some roadblocks. Life is not always the way that we like it. It's not the way that we necessarily want it to be. But God has a plan for us. And our journey through life can take several different paths, even not only with the churches, but with employment. My life has brought me down a path that's ever changing. Seems to travel down one path, and then we take side paths, and then eventually, they come back to the main road, and we go on down that path for a while, and then we get off on a side track. But it seems like we always come back to the main road.
Man, we should play some cards.
Sure, I'll play a game. can I go ahead and just get another hand?
Nah, man, you gotta play with the cards you're dealt.
In life, you only get one hand to play with.
Wow, I just love to go fishing. It's so peaceful and relaxing out here. It makes me just think. Oh, just imagine God created all this. Created all the trees and the water and the geese and the ducks and the fish that we're fishing for. I could wake up here every morning. Thanks be to God. I cannot comprehend the wisdom that God has. In His image, He has made us. It's just amazing what He has done for us, how He's created us. That, the complexity of the muscular system, the nervous system, all the systems that we have in our body. And look, we even have thumbs. Without these, we'd be in trouble. You know, you and I were both in God's plan at the beginning of creation. He chose our hair color, our eye color, color of our skin. He chose what we were going to be built like, our height, hopefully not our weight, but our health. He knew all those things from the beginning. We were always a part of His plan. So it just, my path, your path, our path, was laid out thousands of years ago when God created the heaven and earth. The things that make me different from God is the fact that God has given me the ability to choose. It could be either good choices or bad choices, but that's the part that makes me human, because I can make mistakes, but I can also correct those mistakes. But my journey through life has been set, but I can pick now how I want to go, the easy or the hard way. I don't know. I think we've chosen the hard way today. No, I'm not getting a bite on my line. What about you?
I haven't gotten one bite myself. You want to take the easy way and go get a fish sandwich?
Hi, Miss Tom. Good to see you.
Oh, hi, Kathy. Please just call me Dot.
Okay, Dot it is then. Hey, so I'm glad I could be back here to see you again.
I'm glad you came. I'm kind of down today.
Why are you down today, sweetie?
Oh, I'm afraid to be alone when I die.
Are you familiar with the story of the footprints in the sand?
I think I've heard of it.
Would you like me to tell you?
Tell me about it.
Okay. Well, you see, when you're walking along the beach, you see your footsteps as you go along the beach.
Right.
Well, sometimes when we go along the beach, we'll see two sets of footprints. And that means that God is walking with us. Okay? Now, sometimes you'll notice that the footprints disappear. It would appear that you're walking alone, but you're not. God is walking, and He is carrying you. So you are never alone. God is always with you. So when the one set of footprints disappears, God is walking and carrying you. So you won't be alone. There's no need to be afraid. God is with us always.
Oh, that makes me feel better. I don't think I'd ever heard that story.
Yeah, that's a good story.
Yes.
It just shows us how that God is wanting to be with us, so He does not want us to be afraid. We give our fears up to God, and God will take care of us. So when we get tired or too ill to walk, He picks us up and carries us.
Great. Thank you.
Good. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about or do today while I'm here?
Well, last time you were here, we played cards. Can we play cards?
We can play cards again. Sure, would you like for me to deal?
Sure.
Let me deal you some cards. Here's your card. I'll deal me some.
Ooh, that's not a very good hand.
Not a very good hand. That life is not always the way we want it. God has a plan for us. Our journey through life can travel several different directions, different paths. And as I spoke earlier, that I've traveled down different paths as far as my religious upbringing has been. But also those paths have taken me different ways in my employment. God's plan, He has always had a plan for me, and that has included all the things I've done. He has also given me the freedom to choose, and through that freedom of choice, I have the ability to make a good choice or a bad choice. Some of my choices have been bad. Some of my choices have been good. And some of the choices have been that I've had to listen to God to hear what He has to say and to teach me to listen to Him and to follow His directions. In that plan, God has dealt us a hand, and that is the hand that we have to play. It may be a good hand, it may be a bad hand, but that is the plan that God has for us, and we must play the cards that we are dealt. Just like when we were fishing, Jesus took the apostles and the people and fed them. And one of the apostles said that they did not have enough fish and bread to feed all the masses, but God said, feed the people. And miraculously, out of the 5 fish and 2 loaves of bread, Jesus was able to multiply that and to get all the people fed, and He fed something like 5,000 people. So that's a path that Jesus led the disciples down. He led them down a good path. He taught them a lesson. Just like when Jesus taught the man to fish. And He told the man that if I feed you a fish, you'll eat for a day. If I teach you to fish, you can eat forever. And that's basically part of God's plan. He teaches us. These are our lessons that we learn from our choices and our freedom of choices. So, that being said, we need to follow God's Word. And I've tried to do that in my life. I don't always listen, but when I do, I realize that God has been talking and I should be paying attention and listening with my whole heart to what He has to say. And I need to remember that God is always with me. When I'm scared, when I'm fearful, and I'm walking along the beach and I see one set of footprints, I need to recall that it is not me walking along that beach making footprints in the sand, but it is God's feet making footprints in the sand. He is carrying me to safety. He is always with me now and forever, and I will not be alone. God will carry me home.